Are you thinking of selling your rental property, whether it's a house or condo or multifamily? Maybe you are just tired of being a landlord. Maybe you want to do a 1031 exchange and switch into a different asset type. Maybe you can't afford to be a landlord anymore because your tenant hasn't been paying rent. Or maybe you inherited a property and you just don't want it. We are going to run through how to sell a rental property in 2023. We're going to answer important questions like, should you sell it vacant or tenant occupied? And we're going to answer that most popular question of, should I tell my tenants if I'm selling? Plus, stick around to the end where we run through how we, as real estate brokers, sell a tenant-occupied property in California. Hey there, Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates. We have been helping buyers and sellers and tenants and landlords make the best data-driven decisions in this crazy market. And it's time to run through the unique challenges of selling a tenant-occupied property in 2023. A few points before we dive in. Some of what we'll discuss will be specific to California and California tenancies, but the general concepts apply. If you're outside of California, you are going to want to find out what your local regulations are. And speaking of local regulations, that will still matter within California as well. One important thing you'll need to find out if there's still an eviction moratorium in place. For example, Los Angeles City and Los Angeles County, as of shooting this video, still have an eviction moratorium in place, and that changes what a landlord can do. Make sure you check out our content on those eviction moratoria. And of course, we can't give tax or legal advice, but for the most honest and up-to-date real estate advice, subscribe to this channel. Does it make sense to sell your rental property vacant or keep it occupied with a tenant? The quick answer is, if it's a house or a condo, it may make sense to sell it without the tenant. If it's a duplex or bigger, you're probably going to want to keep the tenants in. In fact, you're probably going to have to keep the tenants in. If the tenant is on a lease, also known as a fixed term tenancy, it is going to be difficult to terminate that. The current owner, you, and the new owner, if you sell, must honor the terms of that lease. Now, there is a case where you could potentially use cash for keys to give the tenant a buyout to make them move out faster so you can have it vacant. And we've done a video on cash for keys you can check out. Now, if it's a periodic tenancy, most often a month-to-month tenancy, then with proper notice, a landlord can go ahead and terminate the tenancy. Could be 30, 60, or 90 days, depending on the nature of the tenancy. So if you have a house or condo and you've decided that you're going to go ahead and terminate a tenancy, the disadvantages of having a property without a tenant in it is the loss of time. It takes time to give the notice, have the tenant move out. And the other is the loss of income. Of course, you're not going to collect rent once the tenant's out and the property's sitting on the market. Now, as far as advantages, they may outweigh the disadvantages. You will have more control over how the property looks. You'll be able to do some repairs, make sure it's clean, maybe even do some staging to make sure it looks its absolute best. The other thing you'll have more control over is being able to have potential buyers tour the property. The more eyeballs that can see it, the more likely you'll get a higher offer. So that is an important consideration as well. It also opens it up to a bigger pool of buyers when any buyer potentially can buy the home. So this could be a first-time home buyer, move-up home buyer, somebody who's actually going to occupy the property, or it could be an investor. An investor still could buy it and lease it up as well. So there's a larger pool of buyers for a house or condo when you have it vacant. It could potentially turn into more money for you. If we're talking about larger buildings, and I'm talking anywhere from triplexes on up, having those completely vacant, it's actually a disadvantage because it may be unfinanceable. Banks will require that at least some of the units are occupied. And I actually have had listings like this where the entire building was empty and it isn't easy to find financing. You actually, in that case, have to work the other way around and get it at least partially leased up in order to finance the building. In the state of California, one important piece of legislation is AB 1482, or the Tenant Protection Act, and that governs which properties a landlord can terminate a tenancy and if relocation assistance will be owed. And we've done other content on this. We encourage you to check that out. Quick summary: most single-family homes and condos, owner-occupied duplexes, are exempt from this bill as long as tenants have been given the exemption language. So this means that an owner can terminate the tenancy without giving any sort of reason for termination, and will not owe relocation assistance. Any duplexes that are non-owner occupied and bigger, more units, those will be subject to AB 1482 unless they are 15 years old or newer. And again, we dive into this in the other content we've created. So if a landlord is subject to AB 1482, there will be very specific reasons why a landlord can terminate a tenancy. And if the landlord does, relocation assistance will be owed. So it's important to understand AB 1482 and how it applies to your particular property, in addition to any local regulations related to terminating tenancies and relocation assistance. If you're selling with tenants in place, should you let them know you're selling? And absolutely, this is an emphatic yes. There's absolutely zero downside to being honest with your tenants that you are selling the building, and they're probably going to find out anyway. Despite us telling potential buyers not to walk around the property, not to check things out, they will end up doing that, and tenants will start to wonder, who are all these people? Not to mention that if it's well marketed, like we market a rental property, the tenant may actually stumble across it when they're online. So there is zero downside to being honest with the tenant. Legally, you can sell it. There's nothing you need to hide about the fact that you're selling it. So why should you try to hide it from the tenant? In some cases, they'll decide that they're gonna move out because the property is being sold. If it's a house or a condo, that's not a bad thing. Now you have a vacant property and there are advantages to having that. If it's a duplex or bigger, if it's that big of a deal for the new buyer, then you can lease it up to a new tenant. In fact, you'll then actually be getting market rent for that unit if you do have to release it for a potential buyer, and that would be good and increase the value of the building potentially. Another important point is tenants must cooperate with showings as long as legal notice is given. They must allow you to come into the property with proper legal notice. It's California Civil Code 1954 that dictates this. But we have a special method for how we sell tenant-occupied properties that we're going to share at the end that makes life easier and leads to more money in the end. How do we as real estate brokers sell tenant-occupied properties? We're going to run through quickly what it is that we do. We sell a lot of tenant-occupied properties. It's about half of our business, and we can help you all throughout Southern California, and we've helped landlords find agents all throughout California, Palo Alto, for example, and beyond. So just reach out if you have a tenant occupied property. The first step will be a consultation with you to determine timing and to figure out which strategy works best in your particular instance. So we're going to discuss whether or not you need to do a 1031 exchange. We're going to talk about timing. We're going to talk about whether you should terminate any tenancies. We're going to figure out whether you want to take it to the market or go ahead and sell it off market to a pool of investors that we have access to. So we're going to figure out the strategy that works best for you. Next step from there is we're going to gather documentation. So this is where we take a look at any leases and rental agreements. We look at any expenses. We're also going to make sure that you've given the appropriate paperwork to your tenants, including the AB 1482 disclosure. This is absolutely paramount. And this is a step that many landlords and many agents don't do, and this can cost time and money to a landlord. So if it does make sense to terminate a tenancy, we can help you with that. We're going to go ahead and help issue the appropriate notice, whether it's a 30-day, 60-day, or 90-day notice, and we've created videos on that. And then once the tenant is out, we're going to help give you advice on what needs to be done to get it ready to sell, and we can quarterback that as well, help get those repairs and changes made. And here's a video you can check out. The tenant had moved out. We helped the owner get it ready for the market and sold it for top dollar. If selling with tenants in place, we're going to go ahead and give them notice that you're selling, and we'll give them our contact info so they can reach out if they have any questions. And we're going to also give proper legal notice so that we can do a health and safety check. We want to walk through, check smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, water heater, make sure that's strapped. We want to look for any leaks, any issues that the tenants have been living with. We want to do that health and safety walkthrough. And we're also going to take professional interior pictures, usually at that time, so that when we market the property, the potential buyers will know exactly what it is that they're getting and won't attempt to renegotiate because they've already seen what's on the inside. Then we'll get the property on the market with the professional pictures and videos and everything that we do, including accurate data, accurate income, pro forma income, etc., so that the property shows its best as an investment property or as a single family home. And there won't be any showings. It's not like you can call up and schedule to walk through the property at random times. We're going to control the showing process. So there's a few different ways we can do it. We can go ahead and set up an open house. There's actually case law that establishes that when selling a property, that an open house can be held at certain times. The other thing we can do is wait until folks actually make offers, then do a walkthrough. Or you could go ahead and accept an offer and then do a walkthrough. In those cases, they would be subject to interior inspection. And then we're off to the races. The property's in escrow. We go ahead and help the seller satisfy any of their due diligence requirements, including the tenant estoppel. That's a very important document. And we've done content on that as well, so you can watch that video. And then we get the property closed so the seller can walk off with the proceeds, or if they're doing a 1031 exchange, goes to the qualified intermediary. And then we help them make sure that they meet those deadlines for the 1031 exchange. So of course we've made it sound much easier than it is, but there's a lot of things that can go wrong along the way. As an experienced agent, we've been through many of them and can help smooth those out. So don't be afraid to reach out if you are thinking of selling a tenant-occupied property. Let us know your questions about selling a tenant-occupied property in the comment section below. You're not going to want to miss the market updates we share and the other landlord-tenant regulations you need to know. So make sure you're subscribed to our free weekly email newsletter. We have a link below so you can do that. And here's another video you're not going to want to miss. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, and we want to hear from you.